What if Issei took his training seriously? That's a question a few High School DxD fans would ask, and I'm going to answer that one. So if Issei took his training seriously, starts with this. So we start off when Issei first became a devil. Rias, who wanted him to sleep. Issei waking up early, waking up at his normal time, getting up, saying, let's go. Goes to school, does his thing, not a big deal. Notices there's a few weird changes, and he still got stabbed in that night a few different times, and still need Rias to revive, basically heal him the same way she did in canon. He wakes up with her by him, asks what the fuck's going on, she'll explain everything, they go with that shit. Once she's done explaining all this shit, Issei says, wait, so I have to train like that shit? Yes. Alright, well, what do I have to do first? Well, now you have to go to this contract, yada yada yada. Konoko's over book, so you got it, right? Right, good. Okay, he goes. He was able to talk with dude about Dragon Ball, but for the payment, dude just straight up gave him, like, a bag full of senzu beans, the little knick-knack ones. They're pretty cool. Like, and not really edible. They are edible, but they're more collector's items type shit, so yeah. I mean, definitely easy to eat, but they're not the best thing. They taste like Tic Tacs, basically. Issei putting them on his side, and does something unexpected. He would yell, Kamehameha, since that's their version of the Kamehameha, and their version of Dragon Ball, at least. Hearing this, saying, what the fuck? As this is when he said, I awakened to gear. I awakened this shit. Yes, 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 yes. Issei proceeding to walk all the way back to Rias. And tell her, hey, I just got this thing. Hearing that, Rias was like, good, good, good. All you have to do to turn it off is, just focus on it and let it go. Okay. He does that and he's completely done. Saying, alright, well, I'm going to bed. He goes to bed, and this version, he took his training very seriously. He struggled against that fallen angel, and she still got away. So he has to train to get stronger. Besides, if the only thing his gear does is double his strength, he may as well is double his capabilities, then he's kind of fucked over. As he decided, nah, I'm going to make this the best I can, even if it only makes me twice my strength. Since that's what he thinks it is. He thinks it's some critical overgear. This is when Issei would proceed to absolutely dog walk the entire, team of training sessions that Rias had put him through. She had said, train with Kiba in this thing, train with Konako in this one, Akino in this one. Issei doing all of this the next morning, the way she requested him to do. When he was done, he summoned Asi, all that shit happened, and he still wound up going to save her. And this version being a little bit stronger, so he was a little bit better off in the fight, but still having the same outcome. When Asi gets revived, Issei solemnly swore, saying, I promise I will never lose a fight like this again. I will never let my friend be injured because I'm not strong enough to protect them. I swear it. Hearing the swear, they're like, dude, are you mad? You're technically bound to this girl now. What? You're bound to your friends to protect them now. I know. As Rias would wind up reviving Asuya. The next day, she would wind up moving it with Issei. Not even a big deal for him, saying, alright, let's go. She was surprised how every day Issei would wake up early as shit. But it didn't really shock her that much. After all, he did have to train. And training with Konako was just brutal ass whooping after ass whooping. Training with Kiba was just getting speed blitzed by some random motherfucker going, surprise, motherfucker. And training with Akino was downright torture, since she would just straight up shock you with electricity anytime you were too slow. He was getting his ass whooped. And he was tired of that shit. So he kept training with them and getting stronger. This is when, a few days later, And at this point, Issei has the second variation. He's actually really close to getting that third one, as all it would take is about another day of training. As Rias would ask, "Hey, Issei, would you sleep with me?" Issei saying, "Fuck to the yes, let's do this." Right when he's about to go do that, he gets got up by his shirt and is told, "Hey, you're not going to do it." But why not? Because I fucking said so. Saying, "But Rias said she wanted to. I wanted to. Two-party consent." Gravia saying, "No, she's engaged. That doesn't change anything. You monster." Well, if she's not wanting to go with the guy, I'm here. Let's fucking do this shit. "I will freeze your testicles in a block of ice if you don't let me take her with me." I'm not getting my testicles frozen. Sorry, Rias. Well, fine. Gravy, you're no fun. I'm not allowed to be fun. Now, we'll talk about this tomorrow. Issei saying, "Wait, is my training session still on tomorrow?" Rias saying, "No, Issei, I won't be able to train with you tomorrow." Damn it. Well, whatever. I'll get my training session then, I'll come to y'all, okay? Them setting a time for him to be there. He's like, "Alright, I'll be there right then." Good. Issei doing all his training. When he woke up, then comes home, showers, and takes Asya all the way to that point. Right there. And he says, "Alright, what's up?" Explaining how Rias is engaged to a guy she doesn't love, yada yada yada. This is when Riser would appear, and Issei's like, smelling the air, like, is something wrong, Issei? It smells like burnt chicken wings. Why the fuck does it smell like burnt chicken wings? Riser saying, "Oh, shut the fuck up. That is a proud Phoenix perfume." Perfume? Not perfume. It's, you were wearing girly perfume, weren't you? No, I am wearing cologne. You're wearing perfume, aren't you? It's fucking cologne. Perfume. You motherfucker. You know what? It's not worth my time. Now, he isn't saying, "Wait, but still, why does it smell like burnt chicken wings? Was it just, like, fucked up that way, or do you like smelling like burnt chicken wings, or..." "It is the smell of a proud phoenix. Now shut the fuck up, you commoner." "Ladies' perfume that smells like burnt chicken wings." "Oh, you little shit." Issei saying, "Oh, come on. We were all thinking it." Kono was saying, "Yeah, you're right." Kiba saying, "Not inaccurate." Asuka saying, "He's telling the truth." Surprising enough, then Akano saying, "Well, at least someone said it." Rias then saying, "He's not wrong." Gravia then saying, "Well, you did have that coming to you, Riser." Does everyone want to make another comment about my cologne? The fact that it smells like burnt chicken wings, or the fact that it's called perfume? Whatever. By the way, Rias, is this all your pathetic team is? It's only a few members. While I, snapping his fingers, have a full peerage. Issei saying, "Wow, that's a lot of people." Kind of a little jealous looking. Saying, "What's your pawn's problem, Rias?" This is when Rias would say, "Well, he wants to be the harem king." Ah, ha, ha, ha. Well, Yubaluna, come here. Fondling Yubaluna, thing, just the most fucked up thing he can think of. He walks right up to Ravel, kisses her hand and says, "How are you doing, madam? May I have your hand?" Riser, seeing this, actually flies forward saying, "You little shit." Right when this happens, getting caught by Grafia with an ice sword saying, "One, Riser, you attack him here, and I will freeze you into a block of ice. And leave the only thing hanging out your testicles, so they can be a punching bag or a chew toy for Cerberus." Riser just got scared shitless saying, "Yes, ma'am." He's laughing his ass off saying, "Wait, Grafia, you can do that?" "Yes." I'm starting to think that those threats actually, you've already done those things to people, haven't you? "Well, I have actually." "What the fuck?" "Who?" You don't need to know. You're right, I'm not going to try figuring that shit out. I'm not dealing with that. Good. Now, Issei saying, so, anyway, as Issei said, so, you really think you're a harem king when I was able to get your girl to blush? That's my younger sister. Why the fuck is she in your harem peerage then? It's complicated. You one pervy motherfucker, aren't you? And you smell like burnt chicken wings. Fuck you, Riser. Riser saying it is a proud phoenix cologne. That is not how it is. And don't you fucking dare talk down to me. Because you're into incest like an Alabama motherfucker? Oh, you little shit. Rias, I agree to having this rating game. Boy, you better be strong enough to back your words, or I will beat the shit out of you. Why? Beat the shit out of my nostrils? Because you do smell like burnt chicken wing. Are you going to add more of that shit? More of your perfume? Oh, you motherfucker. Calm down, Riser. Just because you smell like burnt chicken wings at Wingstop doesn't mean anything. Surprisingly enough, everyone's laughing their ass off. This is when Grafia said, Riser, calm down. No one wants to have their nostrils attacked by burnt chicken wing smell. You too, Grafia? Yes. Isn't this unprofessional? It's actually me stating the honest facts. You smell like burnt chicken wings. Riser saying, I do not. Issei saying, hold on 20 minutes. I'll be right back. He ran all the way to the nearest, wing place. He said, hey, I'd like burnt chicken wings. I'm sorry, man, I don't think we can. I'll add an extra $20 to if you make them specially burnt. What kind? I'm gonna go with just mild. Or, you know what? Yeah, mild works. Sure, here you go, man. Cool, thanks. Issei running all the way back. Saying, smell this shit, motherfucker. Wait. Them all saying, it smells the exact fucking same. Even Riser's peerage saying that. Issei saying, I fucking know, right? Riser saying, don't you say a fucking word. Burnt chicken wing smelling motherfucker. I'm going to fucking kill you. Good luck with that shit, motherfucker. I am going to stab you in the face. How many times can I do that to you before it actually leaves a scar? As many times as fucking possible, because it doesn't work like that. Wait, what? I'm a phoenix, I cannot die. Does that mean I can literally turn you into punching bag for all of eternity? No. That's not what it means. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking do it. Of course you'll try. Motherfucker, boost. Wait, the fuck, is that the Red Dragon Emperor? Yeah, bitch. The Red Dragon Emperor, motherfucker. Wait, the Red Dragon Emperor? Him having memories of what? All the shit about Drake he's heard? He's like, oh, fuck that. I heard all their wielders were powerhouses. No shit, motherfucker. Later. Okay. Having a week to train, Rias and them train all the time. Issei learns his dragon shot damn near perfectly, even learning the dress break skill. Figuring he may need it. They go to the same exact areas they did in canon. Only in this version, when Issei hit with that dress break, he says, Konako, get the fuck out of here with me. Konako saying, you're an enemy of all women, saying, no, bitch, I'm not trying to get followed by a crazy bitch with a chainsaw. Fair point. I don't care what you say. It was worth it. I'm not getting stabbed or cut in half by a crazy bitch with a chainsaw. I have too much shit to live for right now. Ironic that you've already died. Yes, it is. Now, the reason I said let's get out of there is because this. Pointing up, seeing Akano going with the biggest lightning blast she can make, saying, that's why you wanted us to do that. No shit, Sherlock. I'm not trying to get hit by that. As this is when a bomb was about to go off, for Issei to actually shove Konako off with a kick, and using her as kind of a springboard to do it, the explosion blowing up between them, both of them thinking maybe the other one got hit with it. Just for Issei to yell, dragon shot, sending it flying right up towards Yubaluna. Yubaluna actually being able to somewhat block the attack, since it only had 2 boosts in it. Stating, wow, quite strong for a single man. but nothing to my Lord Riser. Issei saying, wait, weren't you that chick who he fondled and you had to fake all those, like, moans and shit? I was not faking any bullshit. That burnt chicken wing smelling motherfucker could not make a girl you're as hot as you are do that. Well, not exactly inaccurate. Exactly, bitch. Well, I'm gonna leave the two queens to handle this shit. Bye. As he boosts about 4 times, being Dragon Shot. Boom. Sending it right at Yubaluna. Yubaluna, what the fuck? And having to block it with her staff, almost snapping the staff, saying, how is it that strong? It was like 4 of what the last one was. No shit, he's literally got the boosted gear. As shocking her with electricity, their fight basically goes canon. This version, having all 3 of them ready to fight, has a way better advantage. But this time, not so lucky. Because when Yubaluna still used her Phoenix here, she was still able to take out you know, Akeno. And that was all it took to take out Akeno. Sadly, with Akeno out of the equation, the fight is nowhere near as easy. And simply put, Issei's still having to fight them all, and he actually said, Kiba, come on! Kiba saying, I got you, man. Hitting with the transfer. He transferred 4 boosts, making all that stab, which took every one of the girls out of the equation except for Ravel and Yubaluna. Those are the only 2 that are still even able to stand, because they weren't able to be hit by it since they were off the ground. Issei then proceeded to not give a fuck and just basically say, here, Konako. Going with 4 boosts, transferring it to Konako. Konako flying forward and punching the living shit out of the queen. The queen actually being able to block this shit barely and hit Konako with a giant ass explosion that sent her flying down. Issei catching her saying, are you alright? She says she's only taking a little bit of damage, not much of a big deal, but she would have to deal with this. Thing is, that little bit of damage still hurt like a bitch. And now, she has to deal with the next bit of damage. The next bit of damage coming from, well, another bomb, which she actually yelled, Issei, and palm slapped him as hard as she fucking could, sending him flying. Issei landing on his feet saying, why Konako? As a giant explosion took her out of the game. Issei, who's enraged, is walking forward, right towards Yubaluna as you hear boost, boost. As right when this happens, Yubaluna tries throwing an explosion at Issei for Kiba to push him out the way. Issei, who grabbed Kiba, saying no, throwing him backwards just to tank the explosion. As he just slapped it away, saying, she won't hit me again like that. Her saying, oh really? As she aimed another one and another one, but they were all fake. Because right when she found out where Kiba was shoved, she hit down the biggest kaboom on him. Issei, who actually tried getting there as time, actually was able to catch the explosion, but not the fireball, which was covered by said explosion, that was sent by Ravel. This fireball actually injuring Kiba, who barely got out the way and burned his side. As this is when another explosion would happen, sending Kiba flying. Kiba getting bombarded by attacks until he was out the game after another attack. Then we have, the, surprisingly enough, strongest power of this show, Platonmer. As Issei was able to send them both flying backwards, yelling, boost! With his critical of 10 boosts, went in there and yelled, promotion, queen. Hearing this, Rias 1 pawn promoted queen. Well, technically it was 8 pawns promoted queen, but still, as you hear pawn promotion to queen, hearing this was more than enough to scare the absolute fuck out of them. Riser being like, oh shit, as you hear boost, boost. boost. Issei finishing the boost and appearing. Once he had appeared, he was done. He was whooping ass. He fought with Riser until he actually lost. Then, when he gets it back, he has to make the same deal with Drake and beats Riser's ass in Balance Breaker for, in this time, 20 seconds, since his body is so much stronger than it was. So he has a perfect 20-second Balance Breaker to beat the shit out of Riser, which worked. He still wound up falling into using the other gear, the other things, but still worked. Then he would proceed to have to deal with Kokopil. In this version, Issei, who's been training ever since he had to fight Riser, to the point where he was already, beasting out. Like, he can somewhat go into Balance Breaker for a few seconds, but still struggles. Well, he can go into Balance Breaker for a few seconds, but that's it. He can go into, he's in the third form, which he can somewhat go. He stays in the third form, like it's not a big deal for him, which is actually kind of a flex. But this is when Issei would proceed to do something unexpected. He would train every fucking day. He would get his Balance Breaker perfected to actually fight against this thing. And whenever he actually did, train with, whenever he decided to actually train with, look, everything that went up to that, Issei was winning until, against Volley, that was a fight, but it was actually more of an even fight. And when he got the Sword Ascalon, it was perfect for him. And whenever he was done with that fight, and they had to go into the underworld, all that shit happens, not a big deal. Because the first thing that happened when he was in the underworld, when he trained with Tannen, he showed him the Balance Breaker he had, and it was pretty good. Issei's training had been crazy good. Training with Tannen, they actually stopped, at the end of it, they were sparring. And if you're wondering what happened when they first got there on the train, Issei went into Balance Breaker and went times 20 boosts, and started beating on Tannen. Tannen, who was actually being pushed backwards by this. As the only one who could fight him was Issei, as Issei started just swinging and swinging and swinging, pulled out Ascalon saying, "Come here, boy," and started slicing up Tannen. No one was expecting what Tannen's ass whooping would look like, since they literally threw a phoenix around Tannen saying, "You okay, man?" "Yeah, but that hurt like a bitch." Well, that'll happen. Anyway, that's all. They would still do their trainings. He would train with Saji, and whenever that was done, he would still, hang with Saji a little bit. And whenever they went to go fight against Loki, in this version, Issei was a good bit stronger, and went into Balance Breaker, grabbing Mjolnir and swinging it around like it was his own toy. I mean, he still got bit by that dog, but in this version, he had enough strength to get back into Balance Breaker and use all the boosts he could manage, and then transfer. With this transfer, cleanly knocking the shit out of, Loki. Then, when he went to, that other town, he actually held down the Nine-Tailed Fox by himself. And then, the final thing he had to do against Cyborg, that was a fist fight. That was an even-scaled fight. And when they were done completely. Issei barely actually came out on top, and then became, the new Lucifer. And decided, made its only sense, to keep training and training and training, and became God. Once he was done with that, he kept training, and eventually became the number one being in existence. His son would actually be the one to take over after him. His son being named after his, greatest partner in life, Drake. Drake being the one who named the kid, so it was kind of allowed. And once the kid Drake took over for his father, Issei decided to do something he never expected to do. He released Drake out of the gear. And he even released Albion, Volley, who still planned to become the strongest and even take out Great Red. He could not take out Great Red, he could just struggle and be barely beating him, while Issei was the one who beat him easily. And that's the end of What If Issei Took His Training Seriously.